today's episode of No, We're Actually Scared. We're going to talk about probably my favorite movie of all time.
Well, I'm Johnny Paranoia,
I'm Dusty Davenport.
and death does make me paranoid.
Absolutely. Movie episode today, guys. I'm excited.
This is a fun one.
I'm pumped. Let's talk some nonsense. Jacob's Ladder.
That movie blew my mind.
Yeah, my favorite. Honestly, my favorite. I'm a horror guy, and the Saw franchise is always my thing that I watch every year, and I love every Saw movie like nothing, but my favorite movie of all time is Jacob's Ladder.
It's right up my alley, though. From the government conspiracies, from the history of the war.
Yep.
Like that, I'm the history guy.
See, that's you. That's perfect for you. And then I like the theology stuff. I always like the after death stuff. That's right up my alley. And this ties right into our Are You Dead episode like crazy. If you guys go back and listen to it, also probably one of my favorite episodes of the podcast.
And another thing about it is you're the slasher guy. You're I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream, Saw, Hostile. I'm the psychological, not... Give me the psychological thriller. Give me the psychological horror to make me think of what the fuck did I just see?
Exactly. And well, one of the things I've always said, I said this on the podcast on another episode too, where I love the descent into madness. Yeah. I like where a person starts sane and just slowly starts to lose it, and just watching that. And Kevin Garvey does that amazingly in The Leftovers, if you've ever seen that show on HBO. In The Night House. Oh, what's her name? Real famous actress. She is phenomenal at just going crazy little by little throughout the movie.
Halle Berry?
No, The Night House. Or The Lake House? The Night House? Oh, Jesus. I'm going to get murdered in the comments for this one. Real recent movie.
Yep, 2020.
She was phenomenal. Descent into Madness, though. Those are my favorite types of performances.
Let's see.
And Tim Robbins is phenomenal in this movie.
Rebecca Hall?
Rebecca Hall. Yep, that's it.
I had that one in a jiffy.
Did you watch that movie?
I never saw that. No.
Oh, that's amazing. Probably one of them. If I had to pick one of the newer horror movies that came out, that one was worth watching.
Really?
Big time.
I don't even remember this movie.
Yeah, her performance in the movie's phenomenal.
Really? I'll add it to the list.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I'll definitely add it to the list.
So yeah, this movie has everything.
Where do you even start with this movie?
I think we go scene by scene and we go off on our tangents like we always do.
Okay.
So, movie opens up in Vietnam.
In Vietnam.
I'm just ready for A Fortunate Son to start coming on the radio.
Boys just being boys over there. They're bullshitting with each other, kind of hanging out. And then chaos erupts.
Dude's talking about choking his black chicken.
Finding tweezers.
Yeah.
Using tweezers.
He's like, how many times are you going to shit in a bush over there?
Right.
It's just perfect, war movie.
Just boys being boys.
Bone on the bone, way to rockin' hand.
It was very Apocalypse Now.
Yes, yeah.
The intro to it.
Yeah. Vietnam, movies always have such, a...
Oh, it's a feel, man.
Such a feel
Yeah,
compared to, World War II. World War II feels so regal. Whenever you see World War II, it's Private Ryan, it's them coming on the boat, dude. It's oh, man, here's the greatest generation, dude. They're going to rush. And then, Vietnam's always just these are fucking degenerates. Yeah. And they're stuck in a jungle.
And it's hot.
Yeah,
and it's always unbuttoned shirts.
Yeah. They got, 5 o'clock shadow and beards, and, they're just...
And, World War II always reminds me of, crew cut, clean, 40s.
Yes, yeah. And Vietnam just has such a feel.
Yeah.
So great tone setter for the movie, but opens up in Vietnam. They're there. All of a sudden, in typical Saving Private Ryan fashion, all hell breaks loose. Bombs, explosions everywhere.
The one thing that really caught my eye in this movie, though, are the little Easter eggs that were planted.
Okay.
It starts, so he's in Vietnam, and then all of a sudden he gets stabbed.
Yes, yes.
And he wakes up on
once
the
all
subway.
hell breaks loose. So he's everything's blowing up. He's running into the jungle, and then all of a sudden, bayonet to the chest.
And he wakes up as that happens in the subway, riding the subway. The book he's reading is by Albert Camus, and it's called The Stranger. And now that is a guy that is struggling to accept his fate because he got sentenced to death
Really?
in the book. And he's
I've
struggling.
never read The Stranger, and I never knew that about
and
the
he's
movie.
struggling to accept his demise.
No shit.
So that's the book he's holding.
So they're
That's
telling
where
you-
it opened up.
They're like hinting towards the ending right at the beginning.
The reader right here, paid attention to the book.
Wow.
The other thing in the subway, heaven and hell on the sign.
Yep.
It was like hell, drugs, and then all of a sudden he gets up and he sees the homeless man with like a tail.
Yep.
All right out of the gate.
And that's a big thing throughout the whole, and like the practical effects in this movie are just phenomenal. But the old lady just stares at him. He's like, "Hey, I fell asleep. Like, what's going on?" And
So-
she just stares.
Just
man.
stares. It feels off.
And
the
there's
train's
no
empty.
effect, but she feels like a demon person.
And the train's empty
Yeah.
in New York City.
Right.
A little odd.
And 90 Subway in New York just filmed so much better than 2019 Subway in
Yeah,
New York.
there's no people on fire yet, but there was nobody on fire.
It also just has like a dirty, grungy feel to
Yeah,
it.
it just felt so dirty and
Yeah, and it's great. And just to mention the subway, we're gonna connect this back to Silent Hill a lot, but in the video game Silent Hill 3, so when you're playing as the daughter, going back to Silent Hill, she's riding the New York subway, and she actually looks on a plaque in the subway, and the quote reads on the plaque. Danny Aiello's quote about demons tearing you away
From your wife.
or
Yeah,
angels,
yeah.
like the entire premise of the movie, and it's right there in Silent Hill, and that's like how much they drew from this movie to make those games.
it's crazy.
They wanted to put that Easter egg in the game.
I read and you told me about it that there was a big connection. Silent Hill is definitely based on Jacob's Ladder.
Hugely inspired,
Yes.
yes, if not completely based. Like Silent Hill 2, especially the greatest like of the game that just got remade and everyone's playing right now.
Yeah, it's been a while since.
I just remember a Coca-Cola at 3:30 a.m. watching the nurses with the arms coming out of their head, dude. And
Yep,
dude,
crawling
it's a
after you.
wild game at 3:30 a.m. hopped up on caffeine, dude.
Yeah.
When you're like 12, 13 years old,
Yep.
like it is a wild game,
The
and it's
good
still
old-
just as good right now. Like
The good old days, man. The good old days.
So Subway, so little backstory. The writer of this movie,
There you go.
we'll talk about him more later. But where this started was he was on the subway, and he got off the subway, and he saw that the doors were locked to get out of the subway.
Right.
So he wrote this into the script that like, oh, all of a sudden he's gonna look around, and dude, everywhere he goes, the doors are locked to go upstairs.
Really?
So it's like can't get off the ride, gotta go through
Gotta
the tunnel,
go through it.
gotta go forward.
Now, is that a little bit of symbolism too? Because there's a ton of symbolism in this movie.
Right.
Tons
Oh,
of
yeah.
symbolism. Is that the tunnel? Is that the walkway? Like, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah.
Going through the darkness to get to the light?
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a little bit of
I
foreshadowing.
think it's just like it's guardrails, and it's putting you on like you're the adventurer, and now you have to
This is the path.
start your adventure. Like, and you got to go through it. You can't walk out the side.
Yeah, I agree.
Next scene. He gets to his apartment.
Had a rough day.
Smoke show Puerto Rican woman,
Yep. Jezebel is her name.
which is extremely biblical and demonic.
So that's a whole other thing, too. I don't know if you know too much, or do you know the original story of Jacob's Ladder from the Bible?
Kind of. You can go through it though.
Okay, the original story is Jacob, I guess, deceives his brother in the Bible, and he is forced to leave like his village. His family kind of pushes him away.
Okay.
So as on his journey, on his exile journey, he ends up taking a nap or falling asleep for the night and sleeps on a rock. And as he's sleeping, he has a dream of a ladder stretching down from heaven to earth. And
Okay.
he sees angels ascending and descending the ladder.
Oh.
So this is, and God spoke to him and said, you know, if you follow me, you'll never need for anything. Your people will inherit the land. And this was supposed to be a connection between how God is connected to earth at all times. Doesn't matter how good or how bad it is.
Wow.
That's the Bible story.
Okay.
Do you know this movie was supposed to be called Dante's Inferno instead of?
That was an alternate name. Yep, I
was-
remember that. And there was a big argument between the director and the writer because the writer wanted to make this like Renaissance style demons, like almost like Dante's Inferno. Like he wanted like full blown like demonic things, and luckily the director wanted it more fleshy and real and more like people with like like birth defects, like those
Right.
kinds of like things, like rather than going full demon.
Right. Which makes it
It's
even
so
scarier.
much better.
Yeah.
It's so much. Like I said, that old lady staring at him was almost as scary as any demon you've seen in the movie.
100%.
She had
just
a
the dead
perfect
eyes.
stare, dead-eye NPC look.
Just didn't take her eyes off of him the entire day. Even when he
Yep.
got off the subway,
Still staring.
still staring at
Yep.
him as the
The
train
head's
is
following,
taking off.
dude. Like, yep, 100%.
Yeah, it's creepy alone right there.
It's crazy.
So he ends up going back to his apartment,
Yep.
and it's a girlfriend apparently.
Yep. And right to like sexual, like just oozing sexual fleshy tension.
Now, do you
between
know
this
what
woman.
Jezebel is in the Bible?
Right, a Jezebel.
Well, do you know what she is?
Kind of like, not like a succubus, but kind of like someone who's like trying to like deceive you and take you away from.
In the Bible, she was the queen of Israel that gave up worshiping the Abrahamic God, and she started worshiping Baal.
What?
Yes.
Oh, that
So,
goes deep.
He even calls her a heathen in the movie.
Yes, yeah.
As
It was
he's
a
talking
good
to
little like, yeah.
Everything is biblical, dude. His son, and you know what the crazy thing is, too? Jezebel she put to death prophets,
Yep.
including Elijah, in the Bible. What are his sons' names? Gabriel, Jed,
Eli.
and Eli.
Yep.
Prophets.
Right.
Isn't
Yeah,
that
they
kinda
mention
nuts?
it directly in the movie too. That's not even hidden. He's just
Yeah,
like,
it's
yeah, they're
not.
biblical names.
They're
yeah.
biblical names.
Yeah.
But it was just the tie-in, though, where she is the one that turned her back on God.
Right.
And he is, here I have sons named,
And taking him away from
that are
his,
prophets, and
taking
she was
him
the
away
one
from
that-
his biblical.
and she was the one that actually put them to death in the Bible.
Yes, that's kind of nuts actually.
And then all of a sudden the scene cuts after they're having sexual intercourse
In the shower.
in the shower. He's looking at the photos.
Yep. She said, "Oh, your kid dropped off," and she's very like dismissive of the kid. She's just like the little one. I don't know, like whatever, type of thing.
She might have killed him in the Bible. And then she incinerates the photos.
Right. So he saves the photo of Gabe. She leaves the apartment, and she says, "I don't like the things that make you cry or whatever." Takes the photos, tosses them in the incinerator.
And what is that bringing in? The name, the incineration of prophets, the kids,
Yep.
pictures.
Yep.
I like I said right there, I said she's a demon. I said she's the devil,
Correct.
actually.
Yep.
She is the devil.
Yeah. Yeah. She's demonic for sure.
Not yet.
Yeah. No, she is 100%. Okay. So where was I? After that happens, I think it goes right to the party after that.
No, he goes and sees his chiropractor.
Goes and sees Danny Aiello. We kind of get their relationship. He says, "You're the only idiot with a PhD that's going over to fight in Vietnam." We find out that he's a philosophy mate,
Yep.
a doctor of philosophy. So not a medical doctor like we thought for a little bit. I looked into it. He's a doctor of philosophy.
Okay.
But he says, "You're the only idiot that went over there with a PhD." And they're like, your brain's worth saving kind of thing.
And he's working at the post office. Also.
And this great like initial thing where he looks up at Danny Aiello and said, "You look like an overgrown fat cherub, basically. Like you look like a little puffy angel."
Right.
And yeah, that character's great. Like he becomes our reliable defender of Jacob throughout the movie.
Which is another biblical reference. And they're referring to him as the Archangel Michael, which comes into effect later in the movie.
Yep.
And right there, it sets the tone of you have Jezebel, who's evil, and you have the doctor who represents good.
Yes.
And they're both, like I said, he's fighting over their soul, over his soul.
Right.
That's what it feels like right off the bat.
Right. Like you can tell that the
Go
battle's
back to
starting
your.
to...
I talked to your ex-wife, Sarah, which is by the way, Abraham's wife in the Bible. Oh yeah, I went deep in the biblical things, dude.
Yep.
That's Sarah, and she is known as a faithful woman in the Bible.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, here you go. You got the wife and kids at home. Now you're living with a girlfriend who works with you, who's lustful and younger and more attractive,
Yes.
and your angel or your guardian angel, the chiropractor, that's what we're putting quotations around, is telling you, hey, go back to your wife. I just talked to her.
Yeah, she still loves you. Yeah,
still
like,
loves
trying
you.
to keep him on the right path, like type of thing. Like guy's always looking out for him.
Right.
Then interesting thing, he goes to the post office. He brings Jezebel food. Also, just extremely sexual. Just
Very.
like I was waiting for the ride home. I can't wait to go ride home
Yes.
with you. Like all these things. Like, and
Well,
then he, yeah,
It's his crush. He's crushing on her.
big time, big time.
And, well, after he leaves the doctor's, though, he gets chased down by that car.
Yes. So he walks out. Yep.
So now you start getting like little images like, okay, what is this? There's a demon in the back of that seat when it drives by, shaking its head all crazy and everything.
Yes, and you got the guy behind the car yelling, "Get out of the way!"
Wait, get out of the way.
Yep.
So it was at the Doc Guardian Angel again because he just left his office.
Right.
Another thing that comes back later in the movie, and we'll circle back to that once we get there, but that him getting chased by that car could have a double meaning. But we'll circle back to that.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I think it is.
I'm interested.
I'll tell you.
So we get through all this. He sees that demon shaking in the head. And by the way, there was no post-production effects done in this movie whatsoever.
Really?
So that head shaking scene was done by shooting it at a low frame rate and then sending it back, and it made it look tracky and whatever. But there was no, like, CGI treatment. There was no, like, Steven Spielberg thing. It was just shot.
He was
in
just
a different way.
He was just at a Slayer show.
Well, no, the heads, they said he would shoot them at a low frame rate and move the head slowly.
Really?
And it would make it look like it was skipping.
Yeah,
it was like skipping, like kind of like
blurred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was cool. No, like all practical.
Yeah.
No fucking computers.
Yeah,
no computers in there.
No, it was
and
great.
it looked so real.
We'll get to it. Like I said, the later we go down, but there was a scene where I got fucking freaked out a little bit.
And then I also love there's a big shot from the car, from behind the head shaking or whatever, where you just see a piece of the head shaking and you're looking at Jacob from the car. So you get a POV shot that's out of this world from the car.
Yep. Yeah, that was good camera work.
Yeah.
That was good camera work.
All right. So then we're back at this is the party.
Now we're at the party. He goes back to his girlfriend. They go, let's go have a night out.
Yep. He's got girls hanging all over him.
Yep.
He's like, why don't you come with me? I'm single. My apartment's down the road, this kind of thing. Everyone's flirting with him. Before he gets hit by the car, he's talking to, like, the group of young black ladies who are all into him. They're like, come on over here, Mr. Postman. I don't know all the words. Come back, Mr. Postman. He's getting a little Kitchener step, like people are flirting with him.
Oh, Mr. Postman.
Yeah. So everyone's into Jacob right now.
You got a letter for me?
So he's at the party.
Yes. Starts hallucinating.
Starts seeing little things here and there.
The head in the freezer was first, I think.
There's a goat head. Another crazy scene. He goes to grab a beer, and there's like a fleshy goat head just hanging in the freezer on a plate.
Yep. Starts seeing weird things. Goes and sees a mystic on the stairs.
Yeah, he's walking up the stairs, and someone's like, can I read your palm? Can I please see your palm? And the girls are like, do it. It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yep.
But everyone very flirty with Jacob. Everyone's into Jacob in this movie.
And another thing, she was reading his lines in his hand.
Yep.
Goes back to our divination episode.
Or fortune telling.
She tells him that he's dead.
Yes. So he's going through the lines. He's like, oh, divorce. I like that. She's smiling at him, flirting with him. His girlfriend's coming over. She's like, are you going to dance with me? He's like, what are you doing, flirting with the fortune teller?
Right.
He's laughing. Everyone's all about Jacob at this scene.
Yep.
They're going down the lines. All of a sudden, they get to the lifeline, and they're like, wait a second.
Yep.
This one says you're already dead, honey.
You're dead. You're dead already. So so that kind of sends him into like a little bit of a panic.
He chuckles it off a little bit, and then he goes and dances with his girl. He does his his dance is phenomenal. Just fucking little bop.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Little bop, dude. Tim Robbins.
Looks like, I can't think of the band right now. I'm drawing a blank.
His little bop and dance is fantastic.
Oh, man, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Talking Heads. When I just picture him like standing behind the microphone doing like the wave with the arms. Like if you can see me now, I'm doing a fantastic imitation of it. But go look that video up.
So then what I love about this, they hit the strobe light in the scene. So like I said, all practical effects. All they do is kick on the strobe light, and now you're just seeing little things. It builds. It's not like totally there, like all at once.
Birds.
There's no like whatever.
Guy
you got
freaking
the witchy looking blonde lady who's laughing.
Right.
Looks like a witch, but not really.
Right.
Like just like a scary laugh kind of.
Right.
And then his girlfriend starts grinding on some other guy because he didn't want to dance with her. He was like, I'm done dancing, like whatever. And then all of a sudden you see the hoof. and then you see the tail,
Yeah.
and then and then you start seeing bats, and then you start seeing a horn just slowly protruding from her mouth, and then the scene ends with a real quick full horn coming out of the front of her mouth. Yep. So basically, she was grinding with the devil.
And he ends up passing out, though.
Yeah, he freaks out,
He faints.
falls on the ground, and starts screaming.
Yeah.
So now at this point, Jezebel's like, I'm so sick of you screaming. Like, I'm not going to be with a crazy person. You can go crazy by yourself. Blah, 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 blah. Now at this point, dude, he looks like a wreck.
And then he starts getting ill.
Well, that's the thing. He looks like a wreck in that bed, and then they check his temperature. 107.
And
106, 107.
Yeah, it was high.
Something insane. This is where your brain cooks.
He had a high fever.
This is where your brain cooks. So she calls the doctor as fast as she can. Doctor's like, he's not going to make it to the hospital.
Throw him in an ice tub.
So they start getting ice. She's walking up the hallways banging like, get me ice, get me ice. Strips him down, throws him in the tub, dude. She's got people coming from all over. And this is where, like, there's a lot of parallels to, like, his death in Vietnam to, I just spoiled the whole movie, sorry. His death in Vietnam to, like, what's happening right there. But, like, I think, like, there's so many scenes where he's POV from on his back looking up, like, at people around him.
Yeah.
And you would think, like, the doctor's working around him, the people he would see above him.
Right.
But here it's him in a bathtub looking up at all his neighbors and his girlfriend. So it's like that POV shot is like, that's the same way he's laying on the hospital bed. And you would think that the high temperature would be something like septic shock, which he would be in from bleeding out on the field or whatever, that would spike his temp like he had an infection. And then all these doctors standing above him trying to help him, who look like demons to him.
Now, if you look at it that way, and there's another way to look at it where there's another biblical reference in this scene.
Okay.
Where in the Bible it says, love thy neighbor. She goes and grabs all the neighbors to come and help him, to save him.
Right.
To fill ice, to get ice. And they're all standing, all the neighbors are helping him.
Yeah.
In this moment of need.
Right. Yeah.
The other thing is, too, his temperature rises after the party.
Yeah.
He's getting closer to hell.
The point. Temperature. I didn't even think. Yeah.
So demonic possession, you start getting ill. You're sick. You
start to boil the ice.
You start feeling hot now. You feel the temperatures of hell. Hell is getting closer to you.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Automatically, he's saved. And as he's in the bathtub, though, he has a flashback of him with his wife.
Yeah. So now this is the part in the movie where they're like, oh, okay. So this was kind of like his dream sequence. Maybe we're going to go back, maybe whatever. But this is his real life. And the director plays this scene out for a long time.
Yes.
Like, it's not like a quick thing and then he's back in the bathtub. Like, he plays this scene out like a good 10 minutes of the movie. He goes and reads a story to his kids. Yes. Like, he's talking to them.
And that's another thing of, like, the symbolism in good versus evil fighting over his soul. Every time he gets closer to good, he sees his family. He sees the doctor. He's getting closer to heaven.
Right.
That way. And when he's with Jezebel, it's closer to hell. It's partying. It's lustful. It's
fleshy.
It's dark.
Yeah.
It's dark.
Yeah. I really like...
Seven deadly sins.
I kind of get like the Hellraiser aspect, like where everything is like flesh and carnal.
Yes.
And like I said, that's why they made her like an ultra-sexual character. Yes. Like...
but that's usually like everything is always like the devil's supposed to be good looking and sexual, and every movie is always a sexual demon, devil, succubuses. Everything is dark and dirty.
Yep. So yeah, he's in the bathtub. We get the big 10-minute scene reading stories to his kid. He's a great father. He's a good husband. He's like, oh, close the window. He's like, oh, I had a dream that I was with Jezzy from the post office.
And he tells his wife.
Yeah.
He's open with her.
Yeah, so this is probably like someone like he knows from the post office, and he's probably looked at her thighs a couple of times because he's like, she had great thighs. And
dirty man.
He's like, shut up.
Dirty man.
But it was the whole thing. And so now it ends, and you get probably the best shot in the movie is when his face is like redder than you could be with like the red pustule. Like, I don't know how they did that, like perfect makeup, and his like...
What the hell?
Emptiness expression that they just hold on in that bathtub, zooming in from his face to out.
What the fuck?
Is probably the best shot in the movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it is insane.
I agree.
And then he's like, oh no.
Now where do we go? This is his friend now?
So the bathtub, and then I think he gets a call from his friend, right? Yeah, this is where he gets a call from one of his friends.
And and he meets up at the bar.
Meets him at the pool hall.
Yep.
Everybody's playing pool. Everyone's smoking inside in New York City. Go figure. Look at that.
That's 90s. Nobody remembers that. I mean, I barely remember. I remember smoking at Denny's, or not Denny's, but what I forgot.
I know what you mean.
But yes, smoking at
it's
the
wild
diner.
seeing it like in the movie. Like yeah, it makes everything, like I said, grungy and gritty. Like
I mean, before it used to be like one room. We were around when it was like separate. Like, they had the smoking section and the non-smoking section at the restaurant still.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
yep.
and then that went away completely.
Yep. It's kind of funny, like, you remember, like, how much, like, Giuliani just changed New York City to, like, the point where it was, like, Seinfeld and Friends.
Yeah.
And, like, literally, if you go, like, 5-10 years before that, like,
It's
every
dirty.
New York City movie was, like, such, like, a...
Greasy.
Yeah, like a
Greasy.
dirty, punky, like...
Graffiti.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Dark, gray.
yeah, it's really good for film.
Yeah.
Like,
Hot
so...
spot. Goes and meets his friend. His friend tells him that he's seeing demons.
He
too.
said, I'm going to hell. Like, he's
gonna
he
burn
comes
in
out
hell.
and he says, I'm going to hell.
I'm
Like,
burning. I'm gonna burn in hell.
Yeah.
There's a crazy thing about that scene too.
Okay.
So
His
talk
eyes are
about-
great in that scene, flickering around too. They go back and forth. I don't know if he's like cross-eyed or if like his eyes are just moving back and forth, but like,
Fantastic.
what an awesome actor for that scene. Like, he's intense.
So he's looking around too, and there's another weird guy walking around the bar too. I don't know if you saw him.
No.
There's somebody else in that scene that comes to play a role later in the film.
Okay.
He ends up saving him from this. What's going to happen next? So they end up going out. They talk that we're gonna go get some.
Oh, it's the
help.
same guy that said, "Get out of the way of the car." You're talking about that guy, the scientist.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's there. He's at the bar now.
I didn't see him at the pool hall.
He's in the pool hall.
Okay.
And then he ends up saving Jacob as the car explodes outside.
Yeah. So they're talking. I'm going to hell. I'm seeing demons everywhere. And Jacob's like, "You're seeing demons too?"
I'm gonna burn in hell.
Me too.
Was the quote.
Okay.
So they go outside, and that car ends up exploding.
Yeah. Jacob's like, "Oh, my lucky day. I found a quarter." And the quarter, like,
Shots.
Yeah.
Shoots
It
across.
kind of makes it, like, surrealist, like, dreamlike. Like, the quarter moves and then the car explodes.
And then, if you pay close attention to that scene, guys, him burning inside, he's actually like shaking,
Yes, the
And
body's
he's
moving.
burning, like how he said. I'm foreshadowing. I'm gonna burn in hell, and he's just
Burning
shaking
in
the
the
steering
car.
wheel, burning. So does that tell you that he Jacob's in purgatory right now, or is he in hell?
Well, and there's another thing, too, is, like, because it's hard to tell if, like, this is Jacob's mind or is this a shared experience with all his platoon mates? Are they all going through this, or is this, like, compartmentalized in Jacob's mind?
Right.
I think that's one of, like, the biggest questions of the movie. You don't know.
Right, you don't know.
Like, you could go with it either way, but it's like, are they all together?
There's 10,000 different meanings you could get out of this movie.
It's insane.
10,000.
It's insane. And then, like I said, the overarching theme of the film is that quote that was in Silent Hill that says, and I'll just say it now because we'll get to it later, but a German philosopher named Eckhart said that
14th century.
the only thing that burns in hell is the part of you that won't let your life go. Mm-hmm. So essentially, if you're not okay with dying, it's going to look like these demons are ripping your life away from you.
Right.
And they're trying to make things terrible and steal things from you. Whereas if you are okay and you're at peace with death, they're actually just angels trying to free you from this fucking carnal
From this realm.
world.
Yeah, from the realm.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole basis of the movie. Well, like I said, we'll get into
So that's what
theories
I'm wondering
afterwards.
is with this guy in the bar, when he gets blown up and he's in hell, is he experiencing the same thing at the time Jacob is? And he probably died sooner than Jacob did in Vietnam.
Right.
So at that time, that was his death journey,
Right.
where he's also thinks his life is going to be
Right.
ripped away from him, and he gives into that, like,
It could be. Like I said,
gives into that PSD and that fear because he was the guy sitting there watching everyone
everything
die
too.
around him,
Right.
like paralyzed, like
Yeah.
what the fuck.
he was in a daze.
So maybe he doesn't have the at peace,
Right.
like he's not at peace, and that's why he ends up burning, and that's why it looks more and more like the demons ripped him away from the world.
Ripped them out of here. Like I said, we'll get into theories and everything about
Yeah.
afterwards. But I got some thoughts.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I love the quarter moving. I feel like it's such a little thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's such a thing that, like, hey, this might not be fully real. Like,
Right.
this is surreal.
Right. you're starting to get little hints of. Wait, hold on. So who would be after that guy anyways? Is what I'm starting to think.
Right.
Like, how did his car blow up? A car doesn't just blow up like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, is this a mob? Like, there's a mob after this guy right now?
Well, now you get the wake scene. He's back with Jezebel. Everything's good. They're walking into the funeral. And then now they go back to the house.
And they have his old platoons there.
His entire platoon. Meanwhile, we saw
the carnage.
We saw the carnage of these guys. We saw legs blown off. We saw, like, crazy carnage. And here they are. They're all in decent shape. I think the one had the cane, like he had his leg blown off.
Right.
But for the most part, they don't look like they're injured. They look kind of as they were in Vietnam.
So they start discussing about he saw demons, and then a lot of the guys start coming out and saying,
And there's one guy that's completely denying it.
Right.
And then there's the other guy
accepting it.
who's literally shaking.
Right.
And drops his beer bottle. And at this point, Jacob realizes, like, we're in this together. Like, what the fuck? There's something up.
So they go see George Costanza as their lawyer.
George Costanza is their lawyer, dude. Were you ready for that?
No.
I wasn't ready for that.
No,
dude.
That
wasn't. Came out of nowhere.
I wasn't, and I got panicked. Like, I'm like, you guys got to go see Jackie Childs. Like,
it's egregious, erroneous.
Yeah, he got a free year of cappuccinos for that for that burn. But that's a Seinfeld reference, everybody. George Costanza. I'm like, you guys are fucked, anyways. You guys aren't winning any lawsuit. George
Costanza's your lawyer.
Representing
Vandelay Industries.
Yeah, Vandelay
law firm.
Mr. Vandelay, Esquire. Like, you're screwed, dude.
But he's basically frustrated that they're there. He's like, oh, we're going to go sue the American military? Yeah. Okay, guys. He's like, I'm going to need sworn statements from each one of you. It's like, who's going first? They walk out of there. You're feeling good. Everything's good. Right. They're high-fiving out of the courthouse, dude. Jacob goes one way. The entire platoon goes the other way.
Right.
And then
he gets a phone call.
No, this is where the two guys grab him.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
In the black car.
So two guys in suits grab him.
Right.
They grab his arms. They throw him into the back of the car. Kind of beat the shit up, rough him up a little bit. Yeah. And they're basically saying, like, you're going to forget about this.
Yeah.
Like, this ain't happening. And he goes full on fucking Vietnam Rambo warrior over here and starts kicking the driver, dude.
Oh, yeah, dude.
He's got the door open. He's hanging out of the side of the car. Like, this is like an action movie.
Yeah.
For this entire sequence, is like a full action movie.
They're
dude, elbows to everybody's faces.
They're ping-ponging the car through parked cars on the street.
Banging off one side onto the other side.
There is no...
the driver got kicked in the face at least 7 times.
Yeah, there's no power steering in that car. Like... The way that car was turning and weaving, man, there was no power steering in that fucking thing.
I kicked like 7 times, dude. I was just laughing. It was like elbow, boom, kick to the face, boom, kick to the face.
Yeah, it was something.
It was like Rambo for a minute.
He was able to muster his way out of there.
Yep. So he gets thrown out, but his back's fucked up, and he's looking up, staring up at the sky in that same position. Like I said, like you get the POV shot from the ground, looking up, just like he would be if he was in the hospital bed in Vietnam.
Right.
And who's looking at him?
Santa Claus.
And then Santa Claus grabs his wallet and takes it.
Isn't that like the most like New York City thing though? It's like this greasy Santa Claus for the Salvation Army
is gonna grab your wallet.
Is just like begging for change for the needy.
Yep.
And then this guy falls out of a car, is paralyzed on the street right in front of you, and you don't help him at all. Like, isn't that like such a like?
Nope. Takes the wallet.
Like symbolic thing of like, this is hell. Like, this is just.
But also,
like the irony of that scene.
But also,
though,
with him not accepting his death. And people looking like demons trying to rip you away from your life.
Right.
Santa Claus steals the picture of his dead son Gabe from the wallet. So it's a demon taking his life away from him.
I didn't even think about that.
They're all trying to rip away like any semblance of the carnal world.
Right. Like I said, just drawing him closer and closer to.
So everything looks like a demon if you don't accept your death.
Right.
That's him.
So
ripping you away from life.
That is I didn't even think about that. I just thought of the New York City slime ball stealing your wallet.
So it's like her burning the photos, him taking the photos. These are demons trying to like get him to stop thinking about these things. Like,
I didn't even think about that. But I'm gonna throw you a curveball now.
Okay.
Too. I mentioned that car chasing him at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
It's the same black car that they pulled him into.
Is it really?
It's the same black car. With the demon in the back when he's running down the alleyway.
How have I not noticed that?
It's the same black car.
How have I not noticed that?
So, there's another thing too tied in with that. So we, as the movie goes on, we start realizing that his one son, Gabe, the picture in the wallet, was hit and killed by a car.
Right.
This is part of his like guilty conscience, kind of like going through, reliving it, and feeling what his son felt.
Yep.
When he got hit by the car too. That's what that scene was supposed to be based on.
No shit.
Is supposed to be like, this is the panic. This is what your son experienced when he got hit by the car.
Right.
The panic, the running away from it.
Right.
But now you're involving government officials that are beating this guy up. So now I start thinking, like, hold on a second. Maybe this isn't a spiritual movie. Maybe this is just a government conspiracy cover-up movie.
Right. And that's the thing with this movie is that there's like 9 things you could say it is.
Like I said, we were talking about it briefly the one night, and I said PTSD awareness.
Yeah.
Just like guys coming back from war.
Right.
Feeling so, like, alone.
Yep.
And, like, everything that he was going through was just, like I said, alone on the subway. Alone going to see the doctor. Alone. Like
it's true.
His wife left. And
he feels very isolated.
Isolated. Definitely isolated.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you meet up with your old platoon members and you start reliving everything. And, hey, we're going to help each other. We're back together.
Yep.
This is great. We're going to win. And then George Costanza calls him.
Oh, no, hold on.
Oh, we got
because we're at the Santa Claus thing, dude. This is like probably the biggest scene in the movie.
Okay, yeah, the doc. Yeah, okay.
So he's paralyzed on the ground. The ambulance comes, picks him up.
Okay, yep.
Now we get. This is like film. Like, if I always wanted to make horror movies. I wanted to write horror books. I was an English literature major for 8 years. I never finished my degree because I'm a fucking degenerate. But like, this was always my thing. Like, this scene where he puts the camera on the back wheel of the gurney, dude, that's spinning around as he's going through these hallways. He gets into the doctor's room. He says,
body parts.
He says, well, hold on, we didn't get there yet. First he gets to the room. He says, Doc, like, you need to call my chiropractor. So immediately defaulting to his guardian angel.
Exactly.
Like, the only reliable person in Jacob's life at this time is Michael. Mm-hmm. Even more than his girlfriend.
Lewis is the doctor's name.
Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah, Louis. I was Danny Aiello, the actor. But Louis, yeah, he's like, you got to call my chiropractor, Louis. You got to call my chiropractor, Louis. So immediately, not his lustful, girlfriend that he's like. These are all like tools for him almost. Like his friends, they're tools. His girlfriend is tool. The only person that like he like gives agency to almost are his old family. Like when he thinks about them, and then this doc, this chiropractor. Which is kind of funny because if you actually look into chiropractic science, there's not a lot backing it up. It's
not good. I could go be a chiropractor. You don't want me to be a chiropractor.
Done way more damage than it's ever done good for most people.
Snap your back here.
It's definitely not a solid science.
Yeah, it seems to form arthritis.
I've used it before, honestly, but
I heard people feel good from it.
I felt good, yeah, for the week. Don't get me wrong. When I threw up my back, like it felt good, but there's not a lot of solid science backing up doing it.
Yeah.
So just a funny thing to put in the movie. But so we get to this doctor. He says, call him. Nope. He gets his fucking like little amnesia thing. He starts getting out of it. And now you're like, oh, is he just in a trance because he's drugged up? Or like, is this where like there's a big turn in the movie? Right. So now you're following the squeaky wheel. And now all of a sudden you're taking like 30 turns, dude. Like this never ends. Like you get his face looking up again, POV shot. Then you get the wheel. And then you look to the side. There's his kid's bike.
Right.
In a... almost looks like a jail cell.
Abandoned, like...
psychiatric facility.
Like a gulag.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way I would describe it. It would be like a Russian prison basement. Like creepy wet walls of cinder block and no sunlight.
And it keeps spinning. We get down one corner, we turn another corner. We get down to one corner, he's just on his way to X-ray.
Then you just see a torso with the guy's head shaking all crazy.
Insane! This is so funny. Like, this is just like a weird connection, and I don't think they did this on purpose. But if you look at Saw 3, Saw 3 is about a dad whose kid got hit by a drunk driver riding his bike. Okay. And I just think of like Jigsaw plants the bike for him to see, and I'm just like, oh, here they planted the bike for fucking Jacob to see as he's going through. And then in Saw, they use that head effect. They probably don't do it the same way. It's probably done in post, but like. It's definitely taken right from that movie. Right. Saw 1, Saw 2, Saw 3, they have that head fucking...
the shake.
The shake. And, like, that just reminded me, like, they had to have borrowed that from that movie. But that is an insane scene too. He's just walking about half a body and a head shaking.
Well, what do you think it means?
I think it's hell. Like I think it's
exactly.
hell.
It's the descent into hell.
It's the descent into hell, especially because you keep turning quarters, and it feels like you're getting lower,
And lower,
lower and
You're in the
lower,
depths
and then
of
all
hell.
of a sudden you get to one part, and now he's running over a liver,
And you're
you're on a camera view from the wheel,
right.
so it's like just behind the wheel, so you can see the wheel spinning, and it's
Great.
running over a liver,
Great shot, dude.
running over a liver, and then there's a pile of arms.
Arms, yep. And then, like I said, you're passing the torso with a shaking head, and
Yep, and it keeps going and
But
going.
do you realize it's all the bad things that happened? Like it's death, it's despair with his son's bike,
Yep,
it's panic, it's fear, it's everything it's your worst nightmare.
yep. And this goes back to the writer where he wanted like biblical demons, whereas the director Adrian Lynn wanted almost like birth defect type horror, like body horror.
And you see one coming up when he's
The
getting
doc,
locked in.
and the people crawling above him in the glass changes.
Yeah.
I mean, this shot.
Yeah,
is
it is creepy. I
insane.
forgot about that. Yeah, you got people above
They're
you
climbing over
Yeah.
like the thing, looking down on
Yes.
him, and he's still got that POV shot, looking up at the ceiling and watching
Yes.
the people crawl. So there's like so many shots from his point of view where he's laying on his back, which just reminds me of him being dragged around Vietnam.
Yep. Helicopter, getting lifted to the helicopter.
Yep. So many POV shots from him laying down. All right, so he gets to the doctor's table. It's a regular doctor.
They start strapping him in, though.
They got the things going into his head, dude, to stabilize his head. They got traction going on. They got all this thing, and all of a sudden he looks up, and who's there?
Jezebel.
But Jezebel is dressed in a doctor's thing.
With 10 other doctors surrounding him.
Yeah. So she looks up. First it's Jezebel. He's like, Jezzy?
Yeah, what are you doing here?
And then all of a sudden he looks at the next doctor, and wow, do you get your fucking scare of the movie, dude?
Yeah.
Like Slender Man. Slender Man, dude.
No eyes, no nose.
No eyes, no, just a mouth.
Just a mouth.
And he's drawing up a syringe. The
Yes.
blind the blind demon is drawing up a syringe.
And as this is going on, you have him asking questions. Like, he's talking to the one doctor, and he goes, well, what am I doing? Why am I here? What's going on?
Right.
And he just, well,
You're dead.
You're supposed to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, you're dead. They let him know. So this is probably the third person in the movie that's already told this guy he's dead.
He's dead. He's
Yeah.
dead. He has to be dead.
Yeah. And
But
now,
then you're
and now
wondering-
you telling me the Stranger thing, the Stranger book, like it's just insane how many times they tell him he's dead, and it still feels like an
denial.
amazing twist in the movie.
But he's like in denial, full on denial. Like, what are you talking about? I'm dead.
Right.
Like, that's not even a thought. in
But
my
it's still
head.
a twist in the movie for everybody watching it.
Everybody.
Like that's the crazy thing. Like they tell you straight to your face multiple times,
Right.
no, you're already dead.
Right.
And like you really don't get it until the end. Like it's a great twist. That's barely a twist because they try to tell you
So then he has that shot into his head, and I think
directly into his head.
does he wake up in Vietnam? Is he back in Vietnam now? Like, is that the next scene?
No. Oh,
You know what I mean? Because there were so
I
many.
know. Where's the next flashback?
There were so many flashbacks. I know when he was on the chiropractic table, he had a flashback to Vietnam.
Yeah.
I think that when he gets shot in the head, not shot in the head, but
A shot.
a
in
shot
the head.
in the head. I think he goes into like a flashback of Vietnam, and I think he sees the guy stab him.
Sticking him
I
again?
think he sees the face.
Jeez, I can't remember now.
And I think it clicks into his head, like, why would he be stabbing me? An ally, a friend, a platoon member.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I think he wakes up and he's back at the apartment.
No. He wakes up. He's in recovery.
Oh, yeah.
His
in
wife and his
recovery.
kids are coming in.
So now here we go again. Back to the shift of good.
Right. So he just went in this descent to hell. Right. And now all of a sudden he's seeing his wife and his two kids.
Yes.
Two alive kids. He had the one's dead. But she's over here saying, I still love you. Like all these things. And it's one of the big arguments I have in my head about the movie is this Jacob's head doing all these things, or is this the journey into death literally? Like, because in the way she delivers her lines and the kids deliver their lines, it's so Hallmark. Mm-hmm. It's so like what he would want them to say in his head.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Like, oh, I still love you.
But at this point,
It's not like, oh, we're divorced. Like, oh, are you okay? Like, it's like,
and who's getting closer though? Too at this point. So he's with his kids.
right.
Louis comes and saves him out of the hospital.
Well, that's the crazy thing. Yeah. So they leave. They let him rest, and all of a sudden, Louis comes in. Dude, he fucking kicks down the door, dude. Louis here to take care of business, dude.
Now the biblical thing
He
with
said, Jacob!
Yep.
Jacob!
Get out of here. This is barbaric. This is
He
modern
gets in
medicine.
there, dude. Like 3 people, security's coming in there. He's got the wheelchair. He's like flipping it open.
So now,
Get back!
So now here's where I drew it with Michael the Guardian Angel.
Yes.
He takes like a crutch and is like beating
Like the sword.
like the sword of
The
Michael.
sword. Yep.
And he starts swinging it around at
Well,
the
and that's
nurses.
the crazy thing. Why is security leaving? Like, why is security backing up?
Running
Because he's
away.
the guardian angel.
He's the guardian angel. This
Like,
is where
he's the
start.
good and the bad. Like,
Like I said, there's so many. And then he takes him back to his chiropractic office
yep.
and he heals him.
And he's like, you're going to be good. And he just places, you get the shot of him placing his hands on him, and it's just like the healing touch. Like,
And he's able to walk now.
yeah, he's like, all right, let's try and walk. Yep. Gets him standing up, and it's almost like nothing happened.
And it's
And that's
like,
where you get the quote. That's where you get the
Yes.
Eckhart quote, the most important quote of the movie.
but now at that, when you get the quote, it just feels like the movie shifted and like this enlightenment came over him.
I did mess up the time frame of this movie.
Uh-oh.
Oh, shoot.
The George Costanza. I was right.
Because, when his friends leave and everything's good,
That's when he goes into and gets kidnapped.
there's something else. And then he goes back to George Costanza, puts
That's-
up a fight against him, says, what the fuck? And George Costanza looks lost. Like he's scared of the U.S. government. Like it looks like he's shook from the government. And that's when he leaves the courthouse and gets kidnapped. So I missed I skipped a step.
It's all right, though.
Yeah. But
Well,
still,
But like I said, that's to that
we
point
just
where,
missed the part where he was isolated from his friend group.
where they kicked him out
Where
and they said,
where
we're
they
not
basically
pursuing.
said, no, we're not doing this anymore. Don't
you-
call us.
And you don't have
And
a lawsuit.
you get the guy who is shaking from seeing demons.
Right.
Take the phone off the hook and basically not allow Jacob to call. Because if you kids can realize that back in the 1990s, if you took the phone off the hook and you called, you would get a busy signal,
signal.
and there was no way to contact that
Or
person.
just a dial tone.
So if you didn't want to talk to somebody, you could take your phone off the hook and your phone
Doo-doo-doo.
would not ring.
The number you have called is not available.
I think it would just be like beep,
Yes,
beep,
yeah, the busy
beep,
signal.
beep. Yeah, the
I'm
busy
thinking
signal.
of disconnected. Like,
Yeah,
oh, God,
yeah,
I got the
yeah.
wrong number, man.
Yeah.
What the hell? The
So
number you've reached is not available. Please hang up and try
yeah,
again.
so back in the 90s, you couldn't just force your call through.
No.
If you took the phone off the hook, that was a way of saying fuck you. I'm
Yes.
not talking to you.
So he gets healed, though. Back on track with the movie.
Yeah. So now skip ahead. He fights George Costanza. Then he gets kidnapped. Then the Santa Claus. Then the doctor's office.
Right.
Chiropractor's office. We get the Eckhart quote, the big quote about the movie about how it looks like demons are ripping your life away from you, or if you accept it, it's angels. And then I looked into this philosopher in Germany, Eckhart, and he was a big time Christian, but he had this belief that he does believe in God, but he doesn't believe that God is in another place. He believed that God is in each one of us. So he was like, this is kind of another thing that makes me think it's more Jacob's mind than it is like an actual ascent.
I got a crazy
But
theory.
I go both ways because it's definitely more interesting if it is like.
I got a crazy theory at the end of this review,
Sure.
but we'll get into it later. But that's what you get with Jacob's Ladder, though,
Yeah.
is the connection of God to Earth at
Right.
all times.
Right.
That's what it is. It's just God's always here,
Right.
is what they're saying. So then, like I said, you feel this like moment of relief. He almost has relief after he leaves the doctor. He's able to walk again. The pain's gone. He starts feeling light.
Yep.
And he takes a cab back to his old house, his original
Like his
house.
wife's house. Yes.
And the doorman greets him, "Oh, Dr. Singer, it's been a long time since I've seen you."
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. Like
So it's like he's awakening his heavenly, his
he's leaving the demons. Like
biblical
he's-
side.
Yeah,
You
he
know
can
what
go
I'm
back
saying?
to his like trashy apartment with
Right.
his like
Now-
sexually active girlfriend. Go back to like the heavenly.
the high Upper East Side apartment,
Yeah.
you know, in the luxury condo or whatever.
Yeah.
They have a doorman,
Yes.
and
Heaven versus hell.
his son's there, Gabe.
Well, not quite. He does see him in the mirror.
Yeah,
So-
he just goes to sleep though.
There's something after the apartment. I think we're missing a piece.
No, he goes upstairs. He like walks around the apartment.
He walks around the apartment. You get the best jump scare in the movie because there's not really a lot of jump scares in
Really?
Jacob's Ladder, but you get the best jump scare where he's looking at the mirror
Okay.
and all of a sudden he sees a dude shaking his head.
Oh,
and
shaking
he
the
jumps
head.
back.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
you get
yeah,
your major jump scare.
Yeah. Man, you had to mention that jump scare.
And at this point in that apartment, he gets a call from the scientist.
Oh, to meet. No, that's at his old apartment. That's with Jezebel.
Man, we're messing up the fucking timing of this
Yeah,
movie.
no,
now.
that's with Jezebel. Because Jezebel tells him, "Don't go. Don't go and see the doctor.
You're right.
Don't go meet him."
So he didn't go right from the chiropractor's office to his thing. No, he did, though. I
Yeah.
feel like we're missing a scene.
I think we're supposed to go.
Oh, man, we're fucking this up. This is live podcasting.
Yeah, I think he goes and sees the medical the military doctor before he goes into the hospital.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're going off our top of our head. We got some notes with the movie.
We're messing up the timeline.
The timeline is that, but there were so many.
I think it's after his friends ditch him.
But like I said, there's so many cutscenes in this movie where it's like, dude, it's chaos.
It's chaos.
It's chaos. Like
you
don't
could
know
analyze like 10 minutes of this movie
100%
over and over again.
Like I said, we're talking about this. It's already been over an hour. Like
I know I could keep talking about this.
I mean, like it. There's so many things to dissect, and
I think it's after the friends just like take the phone off the hook. I think that's when he's like with Jezebel, and I think he gets a call from the doctor.
Or does he come home from like the chiropractor and then goes to Jezebel? He goes back to his apartment, and then he gets the phone call. He goes and meets the doctor, and I think that's where he takes the cab to the luxury apartment.
I think you're right.
I think that's how I'm remembering.
I think you're right.
Like I said, I'm not.
And that kind of is like the big shift in the movie because you get the crows flapping when he's talking in the aisle. Right. So he's talking to the alley.
But like everything's starting to. But like it makes sense. Even if we did screw it up with the timeline.
Yeah.
He felt lighter leaving the chiropractor.
Yes.
And now he's starting to get the full picture.
Yes. So this guy comes in and he says, I was thrown in Rikers. This guy was just an LSD maker, dude. That got thrown in Rikers prison, I think 15, 20 years. Right. And they're like, we can get you out, but you're going to work in the army in Vietnam. You don't have to be on the battle. You don't have to fight, but you're going to help us develop things.
Which ties into one of our former episodes, episode MK Ultra.
MK Ultra.
Which this turned out to be one of the sub-projects. the drug that he was developing, which is true, by the way.
Yes. There's a lot of things that say like they never admitted it or something, but I think you said something about the army saying they did admit to
the
some.
drug is real.
Yeah,
like
BZ,
the drug is
super hallucinogenic. That it's kind of like the 28 Days Later drug, Rage, where it's just like you end up manic and crazy and like a fucking kamikaze warrior.
So they admit and they call it the drug ladder in the movie or whatever.
Yeah, so the scientist is talking to him. Yeah, he's telling him the whole story, and then he's like, and then they wanted it to test it on a small platoon, and it was yours. And he was like, I told them, I fucking warned them, and he's kicking the can, and then the birds fly, like, great shot, too.
And then you get the feeling, though, like, even, like, he's being watched by the government.
Yes,
because
everything.
Cop
cop car goes by, and he's like, yeah, we got to go somewhere else. So they go to the alley. Yeah, so they called the drug the ladder.
Yep, the ladder, which is a straight descent into craziness.
Yes.
To your primal fear, he said.
Yep. You get right down to your base primal, just fear and anger and rage.
And I think that's where he has the epiphany of he sees the face of the guy who stabbed him.
And it's his.
And it's the ally,
his guys.
It's the buddy.
Yeah.
It's everybody killed everybody.
So essentially, their entire platoon just went wild in the jungle and killed each other.
And we're test subjects.
For this drug.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have that aspect. Now, like, all these things are kind of rationalized. Like, oh, why is he hallucinating and seeing demons? Maybe because the government tested
drugs. Yeah.
Hallucinogenic fucking drugs on their platoon.
This guy's on 100 times LSD.
So now you combine that with PTSD, and, like, you could take away the biblical of everything, and you could just be like, this dude's just seeing shit because he's fucked up from the war.
He's suffering, and he's going through issues. It explains why his wife is gone.
Yep.
He's struggling accepting his son's death.
Yep.
I mean, like, there's so much weight in it.
Like, you could make an argument for this movie that happened.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, the ending doesn't, like, the ending pushes you towards the right thing, but, I mean, who the fuck knows? Maybe he's hallucinating his son at the end of the movie.
God damn it, dude. You stole my theory. That was my thing at the end of the show. That he was high on LSD.
Yep.
And he hallucinated the whole damn thing.
Yep.
And he's still in the jungle. That's what I was. That was my theory.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, like the entire thing's a
The
hallucination.
entire thing's an
He
illusion.
just never left Vietnam,
Right.
And he's not.
He's in a dream.
He's not in the descent to hell. He's just fucking high,
Because think about it.
hallucinating.
Think about it in the Bible. In the Bible. The Bible. Think about it in the Bible. Jacob falls asleep on a rock and has a dream.
And
of
has a dream
Jacob's-
about the ladder.
And then here you go. You have all this like, oh my god. And then all of a sudden he wakes up. That would have been a crazy ending.
Yeah.
Like that would have been a crazy movie. Like the whole thing was a dream.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, let's say he gets stabbed at the end of the movie.
Right.
And then it's like, holy fuck, dude! Like, what the fuck did I do?
Right.
Like, I mean, if you really want to get into it, but like, I was saying, the whole thing was an LSD trip. That was going to be my thing.
That's a good call.
But like I said, there's 10,000 things to dissect about the movie, dude.
So now he gets to his home, and then what happens when you're in your apartment in New York City? You're at peace.
You're relaxed.
You're at peace.
Quiet.
You're relaxed, and you're good with death. Like you accepted it, and now he's allowed to see. And this is maybe another aspect of like a guardian angel kind of guard. Why can't I talk? Like a guardian angel,
Right.
guiding him up the stairs. Like, hey,
It's his son.
it's okay, Dad. Like, let's go.
Let's go.
And they just go upstairs in the apartment,
Right.
which is so great. They just walk up the stairs.
Yeah.
And then you get the fucking quote again. Like that quote is hammered into you, and like you realize like how important that quote is to the movie.
And then it's Home Alone 2.
And then he goes on a trip.
Yeah. His
And then
family
Macaulay Culkin meets Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He tells him
Actually-
where to go.
Actually, Jacob Singer just saved him from the sticky bandits.
So, all right, I'll do one more thing about the movie, and then we can get into like theories and talk a little bit.
Okay.
But
Stole one.
that wasn't the original ending to the movie.
Really?
So this is like your producer butting in and making this a happy ending. The movie was not supposed to end happy.
Really?
So if you watch the true ending of the movie,
I didn't know that.
the true ending of the movie is he's back in his apartment with Jezebel, and now her head does the shake thing,
Oh my god, thinking of her too. Go ahead, finish your thing.
and her face morphs into his face. And now he realizes that everything around him was a manifestation of himself
No
and like the
shit.
cravings of him. And now he's in hell and he's just stuck and like, this is it.
That's crazy. That would have been nuts.
So, but they said they did test screenings of this and they would have audiences and people would be walking out of there mortified.
Yeah, what the
No one wanted to go get a coffee and
Yeah,
like go do anything after that. And then the producers are like, dude, people are loving this movie, but they're coming out of here like wanting to jump off buildings.
Yeah, no.
So
it's
they're
not
like,
good.
can we put Macaulay Culkin at the bottom of the stairs
Right.
and just let this guy go to heaven?
Get the Home Alone kid in here, please. We need Happy. I mean, the ending's good either way.
Yeah.
I think they went the right choice. Like,
Yeah.
at least
yeah.
you, and it's closure to the story.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, he went to
Yeah, exactly.
good one, good one over evil.
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like you.
And it's kind of like that. I just love like our well, we're gonna get into theories.
Yep.
It's a good ending. I
Speaking-
enjoy the ending too.
Speaking of Jezebel, though,
Yeah.
the scariest scene for me was her when he pushes her away. He's reading the demonology book,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden she like morphs
Or eyes.
with the eyes.
Oh, I
dude.
said the jump scare in the window, but
That-
yeah, you're right.
that
That's a
was the
phenomenal
scariest
jump
scene.
scare.
That was the scare. That was my
black
personal-
eyes.
Like I said, anything like.
And they
oh,
said
she-
nothing was done in post. I wonder what they did to give her black
Contacts,
eyes.
probably.
Just the big colored
Yeah,
contacts.
contacts. But that one just freaked me out. Like where she got right in his face with the big.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And he pushed her.
I had a
and she
couple
went-
jumps in that movie, surprisingly, for like a movie from the '90s. Like I had a
yeah.
couple jumps.
It was good. Like I said, dude, that's my type of movie with the psychological aspect of it. It's making you think you don't really know what the fuck's going on halfway through. And
You're
it's
just
like-
on the ride, like
Yeah.
just enjoying it.
Yeah, dude,
Like
it
you
was
can't
great.
ask questions about like what's happening, what's this,
No.
why is this going on? No, like you just enjoy the ride.
Like I'm just kind of keeping track of like the characters in my head, and you know, and that's what you miss about movies nowadays, dude. Is there's no character depth. Like here, you get like he's not a perfect human being, dude. He's just your regular guy.
He's a regular dude. He's
But he could
he's
be
got a
very-
crush on his fucking
Right,
coworker at the
right,
post office. Like he's got like
Hanging out with the boys in Vietnam, dude.
Yeah.
Fucking talks to his chiropractor. Like that's like your hair. You go for your haircut.
your
dude.
barber. Yeah,
right,
like
I don't know. And he's like, oh, I got a rough day. He's just now he's a postman, but apparently he's super smart and well read.
oh yeah, he's a fucking
just says
PhD
he-
philosopher.
I want to shut my brain off. Like that's why he wants to work at the post office. Like I'm
oh
sick
yeah,
of
that's
thinking.
right. Yeah, he's like yeah, you're the only one wasting your brain at the
Yep,
post office.
Yep. I don't know, man. And then like you don't get movies that build up like that.
No,
Like you don't get it, and it's like everything's so shallow. It's like, oh, movie starts.
I could see why a lot of people wouldn't like the downer ending that just kind of just dissipates.
I don't think...
Like, it's not punctuated, but I think that's so perfect for this movie.
I know.
Because there's just so much to think about during the movie.
Yeah.
Like, the ending could have been anything.
Anything.
And, like, you're still thinking about
the whole
things that happen
like I said,
30 minutes into the movie.
We're sitting here for an hour, dude. Not debating, but like just talking about it and dissecting what this means.
Yeah.
What the scene is. And how they filmed it. Like I said, there's so much with it. It's a fucking masterpiece, dude. I'm not gonna lie. It
really is my favorite movie. It really is.
Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Like, I know a movie from 1990 shouldn't be like, we always say like The Godfather or The Shining or this, but like if I'm like watching a movie and like, dude, in every aspect it hits. Yeah. Like in entertainment value it hits. Like in just like the masterful cinematography and the shot with the wheel, the POV shots, the overarching shot from the bathtub, like just like how good it looks. Like just the look of it.
And just expressing the chaos of it.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
And it's a big basis of a lot of our podcasts.
I know.
Like it's just such like the theory of death is the most like
it's kind of sinister.
It's the most exciting thing to me. It's the most interesting and exciting thing to me is like death.
But they did it perfectly because guess what? You get both sides of the spectrum. You get the positive side of it.
Yep.
You get to go see old family members.
Yep.
You get to be in heaven.
Yep.
You get to feel lighted. You know, all your weights and past, depression is gone.
Yeah.
And you get to shed all that in death. And then you get the other side where it's like, no, you're going to sulk in death. Yeah. And you're going to be tortured and fear and anxiety ridden.
And let's talk about it like it's not a film. Like, let's talk about it like, okay, this is like real theory. This is what happens after you die. Yeah. You go through the journey and you have to give up everything from the regular world.
Right.
So you're going to be like tortured and tormented until you give up all the worldly, all the carnal, all the other things. And then once you do, you're good to go.
You're good to go.
So isn't that kind of like purgatory into heaven? Like that's kind of like you have to like cleanse yourself. You have to be able to.
Unfinished business. Right?
I don't know if it's unfinished business because that would imply that you care about the things that are like I think it's more like...
Did he not care about everything in that movie, though? He has his family, he has his friend, he has a girlfriend.
But I think, like, in the philosophical sense, like, I think the idea is to, like, the earth doesn't matter. Like, the body, the car, like, everything doesn't matter here. Like, you need to give it.
Right.
Like, let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go and move on.
Right.
And I think that's, like, a super interesting thing in death. And watch our Are You Dead episode. It's like, we talk about just some of the random things we said. And I think next Halloween we're going to do an Are You Dead 2 episode because...
There's a lot.
How do you ever run out of
you can't
talking about what happens after we die?
You can't, dude.
And that's why this movie's so great.
It was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, dude. I really did.
And you want to talk about some funny things?
What's that?
I took a picture of this, but I just want you to picture this movie. We got Tim Robbins. We got a lot of like stars in this cast, like Tim Robbins, George Costanza, Macaulay Culkin, like all these big stars. Do you know who was up for the role first? Who they wanted for Jacob's Ladder? Who wasn't able to do it because he was filming another movie?
Johnny Depp.
One Tom Hanks.
Really? No shit.
Can you imagine Forrest Gump going into Descent to Hell?
Well, I don't like this, Johnny.
Jezebel.
Yeah. Jezebel, please stop. Put some clothes on, Jezebel.
Also, Dustin Hoffman, Richard Gere, and Al Pacino were considered for Jacob's Ladder.
I can't picture Al Pacino doing this. I mean, I'm sure he could, dude, but like...
The Demons!
Yeah, I know, right. It would be like too over the top. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, that's it. Like, Tim Robbins is so subtle, dude. Like, it seems like every time he's talking, it's kind of like whispering almost.
Right, yeah.
Like, he's like forcing air out.
But like I said, that was a great thing about him. And like, you saw every side of him. He was angry at the desks going into the hospital when they didn't have his records.
Right, yep.
You saw him joking around and flirting with the girl.
Like, he had a personality. He was a full 100%. Developed person.
Right.
Yes. For the role of...
He was a normal dude. Like, that was the thing. Like, he was just relatable.
For the role of Jesse, Andy McDowell, Julia Roberts, Demi Moore, Madonna.
I think, like I said, I think it works with what they did.
perfect.
I think that
She was great. Like
she was fantastic.
she's great. What else do we got?
Demi Moore probably could have did it pretty well too.
Yeah.
Like
Demi Moore would have been nice.
Demi Moore would have been pretty good.
And there you go, the director of the movie, Indecent Proposal.
Yeah, that's enough.
Also
that's
directed
crazy.
Indecent Proposal. Also directed Fatal Attraction.
Really?
Yep. And the writer of the movie, going back to our Are You Dead episode for the 90th time, when I talk about my traumatizing experience as a young lad, also wrote Ghost.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Patrick Swayze, baby. That's a good looking
So he
man.
wrote Ghost and Jacob's Ladder within the span of 2 years.
It's pretty good.
So you talk about some talent, like
and obsessed with dying.
exactly,
You know what I mean?
like and what happens after death.
Definitely on the same wavelength. Man.
Yeah. And then going back to Silent Hill 2, the character James Sutherland, who's looking for his wife in Silent Hill and can't let go of the guilt.
Yeah.
So he's trapped forever in Silent Hill.
We're Silent Hill, right?
Is wearing a Vietnam jacket, exactly the one that Jacob wore in Vietnam.
No shit, little Easter egg right there.
So a little Easter egg in the game, they put that in there.
That's pretty sweet.
'Cause they
But
wanted
like I
to,
said,
like-
that's what I think about when I think of Vietnam. The open jacket, the
Yep.
open shirt, the headband with the long hair, like
Yep.
carrying the M16.
I just hear Fortunate Son.
Fortunate son, 100%, dude. 100%.
Well, I love this. We haven't talked about horror movies. At the beginning of our podcast,
We
we
got
said we were
theories.
going to try to do like one a week. We're going to...
Theories.
Oh, you're going to go with theories? Okay, we got more.
Well-
This is going to be a 3-hour episode. You know that, right?
Who cares?
I'm in.
I hope they're still listening.
But anyways, we always planned on doing horror movie episodes, and we used to do one at the end of every episode, and then we
Yeah.
were like, it kind of got away from that.
Yeah.
So we figured, let's just do one where we're going to talk about movies.
I think this is cool. Let us know.
Yeah, and if you got like a movie you really want us to do,
Yeah, let us know.
I'm interested. I'll go in depth on it.
There's-
But I don't know if you can go more in depth than Jacob's Ladder because, like I
there's-
said, you could still throw up your hands and be like, I still don't get it.
There's a lot, dude.
Yeah, I could write.
There's a
write
lot.
essays on this movie.
Just no slashers.
Yeah.
Those are so like nothings.
You
They're
don't like
nothing
slashers?
They're nothing burgers to me, dude. Like there's no imagery in it. There's no foreshadowing. Like
Oh, there's definitely
I'm
foreshadowing.
looking-
They're all whodunits.
I'm yeah. Who's done it? Yeah. Well, there's 3 people left, so I got a coin flip over here. You know, because I don't know. I just think they're so ho hum, predictable.
Like I said, I love all horror. Like I watch it all.
But yeah, like I said, man, there's no like hidden Easter eggs. There's no.
I think you're crazy to say that, dude. I
No,
think you're
I'm
crazy to say that.
I'm not.
You're-
There's no.
You're
thought.
gonna piss off a lot of people that
the
love
only,
these movies.
The only thought that you have is like, oh, who's doing it?
I don't know. I think you're gonna.
Well, let me know.
All right.
All right, theories. You took my LSD one.
Yeah.
All right, so how?
So, like I said, I'm just torn whether or not this is happening in Jacob's mind, and this is all created by him.
I think-
like he's fostering his own hell in his head,
I think it's purgatory.
and that's kind of like Eckhart. Like that's kind of like God's in us, so everything you're doing is in you. Like that's why, like he's in hell because he wants to be, because his mind is forcing him to be.
Wow, you think he wants to be?
Yeah, I mean, like I think like that's what his mind's holding on to. Yeah.
Really?
Whereas, I also like the idea of that it really is Dante's Inferno, and he's going on the great hero's adventure from death into the afterlife.
I think it's a fight between good and evil, and they're fighting over his soul.
I think that takes away from the quote, though. That's the only thing. Like, I think, like, I really like the idea that, in some sense, Jacob's in control of his own demise.
You think?
Whereas that he
What if you're not a good person? How are
he
you in
thinks
control?
these bad people are demons because he's trying to hold on to his life. He's trying to fight to the dying breath at the end of the movie.
Death is undefeated. We all know this.
True, but like, he's not willing to let go of it. And that's why you get the traction scene in the doctor's office where he's saying, I'm not dead, I'm alive. He's telling his wife when she comes in, I'm alive. He's not letting go.
Yeah.
So I think that's like where, like, if you say it really is good versus evil, I think that takes away from the quote where he is the one putting himself through this because he's not letting go.
Yeah, I don't think you have a choice, though. I don't think you have a choice to accept.
To accept your body dying.
Yeah, I don't think you have a choice. And I don't think you have a choice on where you're going.
But I think, like, him he has a choice on what his afterlife is going to be. Like, is he going to hell or is he going to heaven? Is he going to get trapped in his own guilt? Is he getting trapped in Silent Hill and destined to roam around forever?
Right. But I also think it's if you're influenced by it. I think if you don't listen to the chiropractor's advice, you're going the other way.
Right, but I think he's in control of that.
And I think you.
But I think he's in control of that.
I just think you.
But I also think the demons are good.
But I think you succumb to
if you're willing to let go.
But I think you succumb to the evil, like the party. Yeah, it's a good time over here.
Right.
Come join us.
But that's a signifier of not letting go of the world.
Yeah.
Of not letting go of like carnal delights,
like
the alcohol, the day, like
the party time. Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I just think of like the 7 deadly sins on that side.
I just love the idea that it's all perspective.
It is perspective.
And Danny Aiello is like the perfect fucking Italian to deliver such like a powerful like philosophical line. He's like, I'll tell you how it goes. It's like Eckhart. You see this guy. He said, you're a fucking PhD philosopher. You never read Eckhart.
Right.
Oh, look at this guy.
Who is this guy? Typical New Yorker.
Perfect New York
perfect
like
New
Italian
Yorker,
delivery.
yeah.
And he's just like, listen, you see. If you're not ready to let go, it's gonna look like a bunch of demons are ripping you apart. But if you're willing to, like if you're at peace with life and you're ready to die, they're actually angels.
But I think that's hell. Like I said, you succumb to the despair.
I think you succumb to holding on to things. That's like the Silent Hill angle. Like that's the thing. You can't get over your
guilt.
Your own you can't get over. You can't just get over dying either.
Yeah.
You're just not ready to die. You're not ready to let go.
Yeah. And then he finally lets go in the Vietnam triage tent.
Yes, and another great Easter egg. The same song that's sung like 3 different times in the movie is playing over the speaker at the end.
Really?
Like, oh yeah, like skies are blue or whatever he's singing in the postal truck when he's driving.
Yeah, and then he sang it to his son.
And then he sang it to his son in the room, and then it's playing on the radio in Vietnam.
No shit.
At the end of the movie.
I didn't know that. Yeah, it was good, dude. It was good.
Awesome movie.
It was worth a watch.
Yeah.
Definitely worth a watch. All right, next week when we discuss Wind Talkers, Vietnam, Nicolas Cage.
We're just gonna turn our opening
Vietnam
song into "Fortunate Son," dude.
Yeah.
Like it's just gonna be like, no, we're actually scared. And then instead of the drum beat going, it's just gonna be like,
yeah. So we're just gonna go into a Vietnam, all Vietnam. Good morning, Vietnam. We're gonna do Robin Williams. We're gonna break that one down in the future.
Yeah. Oh, and the government conspiracy angle, like I didn't even.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like I said, this is my favorite movie. I haven't watched it in 5 years, and I forgot like how much they leaned into that as an option too.
Yes.
Like who's to say the government's not behind all this, dude?
Yeah, it's a psyop on us.
And they tested Agent Orange on American soldiers. They tested LSD on American citizens.
Yeah, they didn't test it on soldiers though. Agent Orange was a herbicide that they dumped from planes that clear the jungle. Like
they tested it on U.S.
Why though? It doesn't.
Come on, man! You never listened to Anti-Flag?
Yeah, it kills forests though, but from the exposure.
From the exposure, yeah. So it was tested on them.
Okay, we'll go with
in a roundabout way.
Yeah, well, they're not injecting, fucking LSD into them.
Yeah, they're not trying to kill them.
Yeah, Agent Orange. Yeah, that was just a herbicide to clear the jungle, but that was just exposure. That's like the 9/11 thing with the dust.
Right.
That they don't want to claim
the burn
responsibility.
pits. Yeah, and the government's trying to sidestep that responsibility too.
Yeah. Yeah, I always thought Agent Orange was a fucking chemical when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, it's a fucking drug that they put on people.
Yeah.
No, it just kills
I just hear Tony Hawk too, like blood stains.
Yep. Yeah, that's there's a lot of fucked up shit about Vietnam. But like I said, the hallucinogenic thing, I ended up doing a little research on it, and there's a record of the Army admits to testing over 7,000 people in experiments with drugs, and DK was the original name of it.
Yeah,
and then BZ is in the movie.
Yeah,
so that's
and what a cool move, like on the title card to put that on there, be like the U.S. is still denying this.
So there's your anti-government thing.
And it's crazy because it's like they kind of like got away from like the government thing, and they were like, no, this is actually just all spiritual. And then at the end of the movie, they're like, and this was tested on soldiers, just to throw another loop in you to think about the
Pentagon won't admit it. Hold them accountable. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it's interesting.
I love it.
And who knows what they were all doing in Vietnam,
I'm so glad we got to watch this movie again.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while.
All right. I think that's it.
What are we gonna do next week? Ohio?
I don't know what
We got to do a state episode. It's been a little bit. We're gonna go Ohio.
All right, back to geography class, gentlemen.
That's right. God damn it. All right. Have a good night, guys.
Later.